are here with the game. The first Pokemon game on a new system. Well, first mainline Pokemon game on a new system. Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. This one is Ruby, which I've chosen to grab. And as we see here, it also has a very nice intro sequence. Probably the best so far. And it's got lots of color and has some major improvements over the last one. Mostly in terms of the system though. But here we are getting an example of one of the improvements in the title screen. Doubles battles, which weren't a thing in Gen 2 as far as I remember them. But now we're here with Ruby version, which has Groudon. 2003, March 17th, 2003. So let's get right into it. First, we're going to adjust the options, mostly for, and we get some colored frames here. There's some cool ones. We get over 20 different options for frames. This is something I will be keeping track of because I do care. Oh. And once again, we start a new game. And we get a new professor. Now, Gen 2 also had a new professor, but this one is interesting because he is younger. He's still got like a beard and stuff. But he gives you the gist. And you can tell the by jumping over to a new system, the Game Boy Advance was much more advanced in terms of graphics. Now, we retain the ability to choose our gender, but other than that, we don't get any real control over the actual characters. We're gonna call ourselves Terry, because that's funny. And once again, we start. This one was a bit of an adjustment from the previous ones. We get a little bit of more animations just in the regular game. There was a little bit of that in the other two, but it's much more in this one. And we also start in a weird spot here. Most of the other games start in our room, but this is something different. It's a moving truck. For some reason, you are moving with the moving truck. This is the strangest opening to any of the games, I think. I mean, we're going to play through all of them, so we'll find out. But I think this takes the cake. Especially since your mom didn't do that. But the game quickly gets back on track by having you... having you go to your room right away. Although technically they do give you open all this stuff, and these are Matt Gems moving stuff in. But the important thing is that we set the clock, because once again, in the other game, the system doesn't know exactly what time it is because it doesn't stay connected to the internet in any sense. Okay, so this is, what are we at? 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 10:30. 1. Weirdly, you don't get to just set it. You just, unlike the other ones, you don't get to type it in. You have to rotate the thing. But this room is essentially, at least at face value, looks the same as all the other ones. I mean, there are a little bit differences. It's the GameCube. A Game Boy Advance connected to serve as the controller. They always put free advertising in their own games. Also, we got a little hint there, but here's the region map. This region is one of the more water-heavy ones, and it does factor into the story a little bit. But it's also one of the few where your starting town doesn't connect up to anywhere. It's just one way. So now the second town does sort of go in this sort of 102, 103 route. But I will say Hoenn is probably one of the least linear maps. Instead, it's got a bunch of different branching paths. Like this area is just separate. It's got 4 different lines here on the map. 3 different over here. This whole area is just extra. So it's a lot less linear than a lot of the other maps we've seen so far. The towns aren't, well, they don't really have a naming scheme in the same way as the other ones. If we look, we can kind of get a glimpse of it. So this is Little Root. They're all sort of adjective noun towns. Old Ale, Petalburg, kind of, Rustboro. They're all kind of compound words a little bit, but it doesn't really work. Dewford, because some of them, like Slateport City and Petalburg City, like they're kind of just single names. But there is a little bit of like a object thing going on with a little bit of plants, a little bit, right? You start at Little Root. You have Petalburg, Verdenturf, Dewford, which Dew isn't, Ford Tree, Lily Cove, right? Moss Deep, Evergrande. Like, so, Pacific Log Town. It's kind of, they kind of almost get this sort of like plant theme going, but then that's cut in half by towns like Lava Ridge, Rustboro, which kind of has a mineral theme, right? Sootopolis, right? Like so it's soot. Fallarbor. What's this one? Oldale doesn't really mean anything. Like, and then some of them just don't really mean anything. Mauville, I don't really get. There's probably something to it, maybe, but it's just, I don't think, it's not as clear as all the other ones, so it doesn't work as well. You can also, there will be a thing we get to do later. We also get a notebook, we get the thing, so we have bag, and we get the traditional bag with all the different pockets telling you where you keep all your stuff. You also get this, which is a more advanced trainer card with some more information on it and stuff. And then, of course, we have the options menu. And the PC. So we have item storage. And we start with the potion. They brought that back. You start with 1 potion. Oh, and then we also have a mailbox. Same thing as last time. And a decoration. Decorate. There are no decorations. Put away. There are no decorations in use. So, throughout the game, in your room and also in some other areas, you will be able to decorate the areas. Also, this is the only, as far as I'm aware, the only Pokemon game where your character has a father. Yeah, big deal here. The story of this is that you've just moved in to this town because you've been like, your dad is now a gym leader in one of the gyms. You don't get to fight him right away, but he's like halfway through, so. But here we get Little Root Town and the classic guy. Hold on. If you use a PC, he's still saying that the power of science is staggering him. We also get a little bit of like a shaded in any hue thing, I think. I'd have to double check the descriptions for the other towns, but. But the sort of traditional setup of the town of being sort of a couple of houses Okay, that's... Yep, thank you. But we can check out his books. Never mind, they're too hard to read. We also get Professor Birch's house. He also lives in this town, and yeah. Also, this is the first game where the non, like, the first two, the second generation Pokemon Crystal added the ability to be male or female, but this is the first game where the other one always shows up. So if we go upstairs, we'll see the female character which we could have played. And if we had done that, then this would be the male character which we could have played. Which is a good way of using both of the designs. You know, they don't really have to, like, throw one out, because half the people, like... You get to use both of the designs and keep the stuff in the game. Even if... And it also gives, lets them have more characters. Like, it's kind of like a, oh, you need to have at least one other character that is relevant. Cool. Also, they're talking about how you can use the GameCube as a controller, or the Game Boy Advance as a controller for the GameCube, which is funny. Ah, yes. Here we go. And we get Professor Birch. And we also get a quicker choosing of the Pokemon. It's a different setup, right? The other two, we gave out the Pokemon, and they were like, choose one of the ones on the table. This is more of like a, oh, pick one right now. And we also get a little bit of explanation before we get to click on them. We're gonna go Torchic, I think. Torchic. I went Mudkip my main game, so we'll go Torchic. Now here we have the more classic looking screen for the summaries and all of that stuff. And we get natures. And they also tell you when you met them. This is information that was relevant before, but they're just being more clear about it. And you can finally check the moves. And you also get the appeal thing. This is for Pokemon contests. It's a whole thing. I will not lie. But now all Pokemon have abilities, and they all have natures, which do different things. But for the actual game, it doesn't matter that much. I'm not gonna lie. It's not really a big deal. They also set it up so that the first battle is super easy. You're not going to lose. Okay, and then he teleports you to Pokemon Lab. Yes, and then you get the Torchic after that. No, I'm not. Sorry, I'm not actually getting a nickname. Ah, yes, and that means both characters have canonical names, because you can find out the canonical name of each character by not choosing them, basically. And then they'll give you that the female character is canonically named May, and that the male character is canonically named Brendan. Sure, whatever. Which is interesting. These are all new sort of extra additions that don't hurt and don't really do that much. The big thing here is that the sprite work is now phenomenal, and the colors are all nice. This is now pleasing to the eyes and not just mildly meh. But now we're going to talk about the ability and natures. The abilities are all useful usually, but for competitive, this is really the first time you can kind of do competitive stuff, because competitive will change, like what the ability your guys have will change what they can do actually in terms of competing against other Pokemon. So for example, Blaze, they don't tell you exactly what they do. Same thing with the natures, they don't actually tell you what they do, but you can look it up. Blaze gives you like a 0.5 bonus to all fire moves. And I think Naughty increases attack and decreases defense or something like that. Most of them do that. They're like, oh, this stat is improved, this stat is lowered. We also, well, I missed it. I don't think I mentioned it much in Gen 2, but we finally have the full suite of stats. I think this is a Gen 2 change that I forgot to mention, where they switched special into special attack and special defense. Anyway, yep. Oldale Town. It's a great town, not old at all. Oh, we ran into our both Pokemon. Okay. Now, we can finally see what all of the moves do, but this is not a huge... it is kind of a big thing. But in practice, the games were designed well enough that you didn't need to worry about, oh, if I use this move, will it kill me? Except for maybe at, like, upper levels. And here we get the first... pretty much main iteration of the Pokemon Center, which won't change for a while, where they move everything pretty much to the center. They take out the extra stuff over here. They keep the above area, which we'll look at, and it's basically the same. We got a bunch of doors and a PC, and the map and the PC is in the corner. So in the first 3 games, it all changed pretty quickly, but not a ton until it settled on this sort of iteration. If you'll notice, everything's still off-center in this room. The lady is not actually in the center of the thing, and the doorway is two blocks wide. She's on the one side, so everything's a little bit off. I think by the DS version, they pretty much fix this. We also get a new PC. If you'll remember, the first 2 games had Bill's storage system. This is a different person's storage system. And it looks completely different. And this is the box that they would use, I think, all the way to Gen 5. But here we go. We now have, how many boxes? 14 boxes, which is a decent amount. We can change the names of all of them, which is a very good change. We can change the wallpaper, which doesn't really matter, but we can make it polka dot or whatever. And we can now move things without saving every time. And then this is the exact same. Okay. Oh, whoops. Now, I don't think we'll get to I don't think we'll get to who created this new PC system. It's not super relevant, it's just mildly interesting. Oh, this lady's gonna show us the Pokemart. We also get the outdoor Pokemart and whatchamacallit, Pokemon Center location views. How they look from the outside is now solidified, basically, here. Because if you remember in the last games, they kind of look the same as all the other buildings a little bit. They've got big signs out in front, so you can still tell, but here we get to the point where it's very clear that these are like unique buildings, basically. Alright, I'll buy some stuff so that we can win. Oh, what does Old Dale say? Yeah, all the like things. We can't go this way. Yeah, we can't go this way. Which is classic, of course. And I think if we try to go the other way, it will not lead anywhere. This is Route 103, but... We also run into the problem that the other games also kind of had, where there's only like 2 houses here, so this is a very small town. Even though it's like the first one you get to, it's still really small. And like the other games, there is a spot where we can't go any further because we don't have surf. And here is May. And this is the first game where you have multiple rivals. 2, I think. Yeah, pretty much 2. May is actually the main rival, so the other sort of player will end up being the main rival. But there is an additional one named Wally, which we might get to today. I don't know. We'll just use a potion. We're just gonna kind of cheat here, because she's not gonna use a potion. So. And we go to level 6. Ooh, I should have looked over. Oh, we actually go up 2 levels. Ha! Here we get the first time it'll tell us the improvements. So we got more HP than everything else, and then it'll tell us what our new stats are. Alright, then she goes that way, and we follow. Oh, she's over there. I think they also stopped making fun of you for it being dark out, and they got rid of the whole, like, oh, it's dark out, that means the whole screen is darker, because, I mean, I'm not mad about that. The second gen games had, like, that was the big thing, right, that now they keep track of the time of day, and now you can get a bunch of new Pokemon that are only available at night or during the day. All of those still happen, right? There's still a whole thing where it's like, you can only catch these Pokemon during the night, during the day. But they're not as obvious about it anymore. And we get a Pokédex. And we get a Pokeball. Only one? I think maybe more. Is that it? I think we get accosted as we leave. Because we still haven't gotten the actual trainer gym challenge. Ah, yes. Ah, finally. a perfect essential addition to the game. you can now run. You can press B and go move slightly quicker. Now, this, in practice, this is just a poor man's bike, but they did change some stuff with the bike here, so it does make sense that they added this whole thing that you can, so that you can go fast even when you don't have a bike. Because there are now 2 bikes in the game, because we're not going to get to the bike thing, so I'm just going to tell you. There are now 2 bikes in the game, so if you, one bike is slower, but it doesn't get up, like, the first bike gets up to speed, and then it goes max speed, but you can't really turn. And the other one, you can turn at all times, but it's slower. Okay, time to send out a Pokeball. Do we only really have 1? Okay, no, it's 5. Alright, I was like, there's no way she only gave us 1. They don't really do that. And we get Wurmple. Wurmple is an interesting case because we're not really going to find this out, but Wurmple has 2 possibilities for things that it can evolve into. And I think there are some other ones that are in this generation that have similar kind of deals, where you can evolve into multiple things. You get multiple choices. For example, I think this one has... I don't remember specifically. But now we can go over here because this guy's done, right? Yes. Okay. Great, dude. Very helpful. Interestingly, they specifically had you go... We also have not received the map yet, which is interesting. They specifically had you go on Route 103 before you went on 102. We also get a redo of the route numbers. We now start at 102 instead of Gen 2, which picked up where Gen 1 left off, basically. Right, Gen 2, like, Gen 1 went up to like 30, and Gen 2 starts at 40 or something like that, I think. Also, in this one, they don't have any sort of thing that happens when you catch them. It just goes, oh, you got it. Which is very curious. Is this the first battle? Alright, this is the first battle. Now, these are not super difficult or anything. Although he's like level 5, which is higher than most of the other things in the game. As with the other ones, because I'm only going to be playing for like an hour or 2 into the game, I'm just going to overlevel my starter, because that only becomes a serious problem later on when you get towards the end, basically. I mean, you can run, it can be a problem at any time, but it's the least a problem at the beginning of the game. And we get our first option of going into the grass or fighting the guy. But I'm gonna head back. And now the game seems so much quicker now that we have the running shoes, which you can't use indoors. It's very weird. If we look at the map again here, we'll see that it starts at Route 101 and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and that's the end. There's a lot of ocean routes in this game. Almost half the map is in the ocean, I think. I think it's a little less than half. It's more like 40%. But the game gives you some boats to travel on to basically go through ocean areas before you've actually gotten swim. Which I think is fine. And as always, first Pokemon in the game, one of the first Pokemon trainers is a bug catcher. Because the bug catchers are very easy to, I don't know, do low level because bugs kind of suck. Ooh, level 8. And that'll be good for us, actually, because we have a fire type. Now, really what this game, what this generation did, is instead of focusing on gameplay changes, I mean, they definitely made some gameplay changes, but instead of focusing on it, I think they focused more on the sprite work, the art, the porting it to a new console, adding a bunch of new stuff. Oh, we have to fight this guy. We also get a redo of the berry system, although it's basically it's different, but it's the same. The berries are now in certain areas, which they were before, but they now have like sort of a planting thing, whereas before it was just sort of a daily go to the tree, shake the tree for a berry. Every day you can get a berry. Now it's, oh, go to this thing. When you get to it in the game, you get to a flower bed, and you can grab the berries. So, no, we'll just keep going. Oh, he's only like level 3. I don't think I'm going to play this one for as much as the other ones. I definitely want to play next week's, which is Fire Red and Leaf Green, a lot, because those are the first remakes. And the decision to remake is very interesting. So they changed all the names for all the berries. They gave them new names. They changed how all of them looked. They didn't really change what they did. They basically all do the same stuff because they didn't change the gameplay enough for it to be like, oh, this berry gives you health. Oh, well, what are we going to do? We're not going to do a berry that gives you health. Like, that's just what we're going to do. But now, if we go to the bag, first, we get these cool tags, which are very cool. I really like them. Where you get an example of the berry, what it tastes like, what it looks like, how firm it is, and some other information about them, including the size. Now, the berries are they all look just like berries, but they are all the names are based on stuff. For example, Oran is just an orange. Pekka is like a pecan, I think, is what it's trying to emulate. But it also tells you exactly what they do. So this one heals poison, this one heals HP. You can plant them in the soil, and you can, well, we don't have the ability yet, but you'll be able to water them. When you plant them, you obviously lose one. And if we come back later, we can pick it. And it said on the tag they grow in half a day, which means that literally if we come back in about 12 hours, it will have started growing. If we leave it for too long, though, it will go away, basically. It'll die. So you don't really want to actually plant the berries unless you're planning on coming back to the area. So you want to kind of get through the game before you actually do some of the berry stuff. But it is still an interesting little kind of mini game. And I think Poffins are in this game. Poffins are definitely in Gen 4. but I don't know if they're in this one or not. So I don't know if there's another use for berries in this generation, in this game, aside from just giving them to your Pokemon. Which, of course, you can always do. And it's also good to just keep a bunch because they're easy poison. Like, the ones that cure poison, you don't have to buy antidotes then. Oh, and you learned Ember, that's good. So now we can see that this is a fire move, power 40. You guys aren't holding any enemies though, no. You know, I'll really say it, I think this is the first Pokemon game that really looks good in the game. The other ones are impressive for the hardware, right? I mean, you think about the other games that are on the Game Boy, it's like Tetris, the first Kirby game, the one that doesn't have any color, you know. Some of that stuff, like, basically they were running arcade games on the Game Boy, which is still cool considering that in the early 80s, late 70s, those were on a big machine. But inherently they weren't super good looking games by the late 80s, right? And especially not in the 90s when Pokemon came out. I think this is the first one that really looks good as a game, and I think that's why they stuck with this sort of style for a while. Because it was, I mean, they got it down pretty well. And I think, oh yes, they also have a profile thing. This is a thing they add that is kind of silly, and I don't love, and it's not really gameplay related at all. You can change your seed, basically, by changing your profile, and they give you a bunch of words to choose from, like random words to put into each of the slots. But it doesn't really matter. I think it changes your, like, randomizer seed kind of thing. Oh, and he's telling me. That lady's telling me what the things are. Ah, it's looking for Wally. How curious. Yep. And here we want to buy more Pokeballs, I think. Ah, they're still not telling you how many are in the bag. That is a major, good thing. I mean, you can check by just going to your bag real quick, but it does get good. Ah, yes. It's actually really funny. So we get to the first gym. And it tells you the gym. This guy's name is Norman, so this is the normal type gym. This is not the first gym you get. This is one of the later ones because this is your dad's gym. So this is like number 5, I think. But you can't fight him now. And this is Wally. And this is also the explanation for... This is how they teach you how to catch Pokemon, in case you didn't know. And Wally is a weird, like... Yeah. Wally's a very strange character. He also gets, like, a bonkers good Pokemon off the bat with Brawls. Which is really funny, but...
And it weirdly ensures, I mean, him getting a Ralts here, like, weirdly ensures that everyone will know what the Gardevoir line is, which is a strange thing to focus on. It's kind of like if they made sure, well, I guess there are some Pokemon in the other two games that the rival has that they specifically want you to know about, right? Rattata doesn't he doesn't get a Golbat, but Yellow, you get one of the Eevee lines. There's a handful that they do make sure that you kind of know about, which is interesting. I wonder if they really think about that when they're designing the rivals. But he's kind of a win. And you don't... Yes, so he tells you which gym to go to first. Terry's a funny name. We still have not gotten the map, which is curious. Ooh, can we check the professor's PC? No, we cannot. Anyway, this is Wally's house. We can go in. We can talk. Yep. Yeah, like, it's actually kind of funny. You play it and you're like, okay, this is just a like nervous kid, and then you talk to his parents, and they're like, yeah, he sucks. he's like he's sick all the time. He's frail. He sucks. Oh, you don't have to fight that lady. Oh, you also get the footsteps on the ground. Such an innovation, leaving footsteps on the ground. I mean, it's the little things, and this game is really all about improving the little things about the previous game and making the series look really good. I mean, the first two sold really well and stuff, but I think this is really the one where it became sort of a mainstay, like that they were always gonna make more. Right, because I mean, you think about it, the first two, if you make two of a game, that's not unreasonable, especially if the first one does well. The third one, I mean, maybe it's a trilogy. By the time you make 4, you're basically gearing yourself up to make as many as you want. I mean, 3 is really making as many as you want, but I mean, especially since this one is really so disconnected from the other two, and because it jumps consoles, I think this is really the one where they go, okay, yeah, we're gonna keep doing this. Like, this is not some... I'll get more berries. This is not just some one-off, you know, late 90s RPG. This is, we're gonna keep doing this. And so they went, okay, well, if we're gonna keep doing this, we need to make, it needs to look pretty good, and it needs to... I love the character, the little characterizations they give to people. And then they just call him, he's Rich Boy Winston. That's sweet. But, I mean, like, you think about it, for the most part, the animations are mostly the same. The big thing is the color, right? That the color is now much more vibrant. But that's a lot of that's due to the console. It's not because... Oh, and we go through a woods section. Yeah. First step. We already caught a Wurmple. I feel like this game is a little bit I mean, they definitely made changes, and they made changes that did, matter. It's not like they did nothing. They didn't sit there and go, okay, we're just porting Gen 2 or Gen 1 and Gen 2 to the thing. They went, okay, we're gonna make a new game with some new stuff. But for the most part, this game is pretty much the same. There's not a big improvement here, other than now it's on the Game Boy Advance, which means the screen is bigger, the colors are better, it has more storage power, it has more processing power. But, I mean, if you really think about some of the other games that are on this system, it's like the Kirby game that you can play as 4 people, the original Mario and Luigi RPGs. I have to fight him. They could have really advanced it. Game Boy Advance. He has 6 Pokemon. They're all like level 3 Wurmples or whatever. But this is the only system which there's only one main game on. There's only one generation on the Game Boy Advance. All the other systems have at least 2 generations on them, including the Switch now. And actually the 3DS the 3DS still only has 2. The Game Boy has 2, although the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy... Technically, the Game Boy Color has 2, and the Game Boy only has 1. But the Game Boy has 2, the Game Boy Advance only has 1. DS has 2, 3DS has 2, and Switch has 2 out of 9. So, this is kind of a weird case. And I feel like the fact that they did actually redo Gen 1 was kind of like a... Okay, we're restarting a little bit. We're taking a step back and figuring out how we can keep going. We're going to keep going. We made this one. We're gonna keep going. But now we need to actually figure out, okay, what's our long-term strategy for getting people to keep buying this game? Especially since, there's really only so far we can improve, right? There's only so many new things we can add. Because inherently Gen 3 and Gen 4 don't do any of the wacky stuff they did later, where they added huge new things like Gigantamaxing and Z-Power and all that stuff. And what are the... And I think they've actually shifted back to Shroomish. I like Shroomish. Shroomish is cool. He's funny. He's a funny little guy. And his evolution is really good. Nice. Yeah, the other one. Oh, what's it called? Paralyze heal. Now we can no longer get paralyzed. Woo, yippee. Oh, this is a... Yes. Here we get the first new enemy team. So there are 9 games, and there are 9 teams. But we played Gen 2. And we didn't see a new enemy team. Instead we saw, well, we didn't see it because we didn't get far enough into the game. But we saw Team Rocket again. So Gen 2 doesn't have a new team. Instead, Gen 3 has 2 new teams. Now, because this is Ruby, we're only going to see Team Magma, because that's how the game goes. Sapphire only has Team Aqua. If you play Emerald, you get both of them. they have competing goals technically, but it's not really as simple as it is in the first couple of games. Ooh, we got a burn. Because inherently in the first two games, Team Rocket is evil because they're like stealing stuff, kind of like they're criminals. Like they break into people's houses, they steal stuff, they intimidate people. They're inherently evil because they do evil things. Their inherent goals are not like evil, they're just morally ambiguous, right? They want to make money. Oh, he gives it a great ball. This guy comes back, the Devon guy, but he just gives you more like stuff to get through the game. So it's not like he's a big deal or anything. Oh. Oop. You can really avoid people if you do it right. But not if you run into the thing. Ah, so Cassacoon or Silicoon. The two that Wurmple can evolve into are Cassacoon and Silicoon, and then they'll do into Dustox or Beautifly. But you can see here that by this game, it's pretty obvious that they have kind of a setup going where they go, okay, you've got like a basic bird Pokemon, a basic normal type Pokemon, forest area with a handful of bug type, like 1 or 2 bug type Pokemon that have a bug, like a cocoon form, and then a big flying thing. Ooh, Nincada. This one's really interesting. This is probably one of the more unique designs they've done. It's still like a bug type, and it still goes into a cocoon. But if you do it right, you actually get 2 Pokemon out of its evolution instead of 1. You get like the husk of it as a separate Pokemon, which is really cool. And I wish, well, I mean, they can't do the exact same thing again, but I'm glad that they do stuff like that they're willing to take sort of risks on certain Pokemon. Sackloth. Slackoth. Slackoth is good. Well, his later evolution was pretty good. And really, by the time you get to this game, it becomes clear that, like, some of the designs, not only from Gen 1, are pretty uninspired. Like, this guy's like a sloth, but inherently he's also kind of the same as Snorlax, which is a little funny. Yep. We also see the trees that can be cut down. Will they be cut down? Not in this. We're not going to get to it, but yes. Oh, and these ones, cherry berries, because they're literally cherries. Yeah, that's kind of the deal. Do we get any other ones that I can talk about? No, just the cherry berries. But these are number 1, which is cool. It's apparently very spicy. Ah, yes. We can do the double battles. Oh, well, this lady's not going to give me a double battle. I'll see if I can get one before we end the stream. I'm doing a shorter one today. There's just less to say about this one. The main improvements are that they ported it. They did the game on the Game Boy Advance. So that's most of the improvements. It's not like... definitely not as improved as Gen 2. Oh, that's nice. Ah! She sniped me from all the way. Yeah, see, if you went down to the middle of the road, you would have gotten the double battle. So there's a bunch of trainers in here that will do a double battle with you if you sort of interact with them in the correct way. Oh, I haven't done any of the gyms yet. This is the beginning of the game. Ah, Astonish. It's a ghost type. Yeah, I want to get to the first gem so we can see it. No, Shroomis is a grass type, so I will eat him. I will say the beginning of this game is a lot easier than the beginnings of some of the other ones, I think. There's a lot of stuff. Okay, here, we'll do, we'll make sure that we're getting, oh, actually, hold on. I think we'll come back to that lady if we can. Is this, oh, that's just the flower shop. I want to get to the Rust Burrow and then come back and do the because I'm about to run out of points for Ember. I'll have to use my other Pokemon. Okay. The flower shop we can go into. Oh, they tell you about berries. And I think you can get the yes, you get the water pail to water flowers, which will increase their output basically. Yeah, there's kind of like a, if you go and then you miss it, then they'll drop off again, but it'll only happen so many times before. Okay, looks like we have to do this fight, so we'll... Let's check some of my what do these guys have? Oh, he has Absorb and Tackle, that's pretty good. He has Scratch and Yawn. We'll use a potion because we have a bunch. On Shroomish, and we'll send out Shroomish and put Shroomish at the top. So let's see the double battle. Oh, never mind. I guess not. I thought that was a double battle. Well, okay, we're in the city now, so that was a waste of the potion, whatever. I'm gonna go back and like actually talk to them and see if they'll do it. It might just not be like, you don't have to do it. And then we'll do the gym, and then I think we'll see how long that takes, and then we'll call it. Okay. So this is the double battle. In Gen 1 and 2, there are certain trainers which kind of emulate this idea, but usually the way they do it is like you step in a spot, one gets triggered, you fight them. Then the other one gets triggered before you have an option to move. So it's kind of like a one after another battle, not a true double battle where everybody's on the same field. Now, the double battling system is kind of limited in terms of what it's doing. Right? It's flashing the one that you're selecting, and then it goes to the other one. But basically all the Pokemon stats get set, like, get viewed against each other. So the speed, whoever goes first across the 4 goes, whoever goes second across the 4 goes. And then they did definitely do a bunch of stuff to make sure that they had all of the corner cases covered, right? What happens if you hit somebody but then they die before you get to hit them? What happens if you do something wacky and it kills everybody? The other thing here is that there's a bunch of moves now that will damage your partner. Stuff like Earthquake will go and it will hit not only the 2 on the enemy team, but also your friend, unless they're ground type or have Levitate. But now moves are not necessarily always single focus. Right? You think about before the double battles, every move hit the enemy. Now, some moves hit one enemy and some hit both. We also have a very cool effect that is the reflection. You can see a reflection in the water. You can even see it underneath the boards of the thing, which is pretty cool. And this applies to everybody, right? You can see these guys' reflections too. It's so innovative. It's certainly interesting. And it's certainly good. Like, it's not one of those things where it's like, oh no, I'm mad that I see they added this in. And to not only that, but the water literally is animated and thus your reflection moves around. It's all very cool, but at the same time, it's not like I'm not going, oh yes, they've done this changes the whole game. It's just a cool thing. And there's a lot of things like that in this game that are like, this is a cool thing they did. Oh, it looks cool. Like, this is definitely the improved version of Gen 2 because it has all the stuff from Gen 2 plus a little bit more. But it's not like you're sitting here going, this is definitely a major improvement. Where's the gym? Where's the gym? There's the gym. It's Roxanne, who does rocks. So, like in Gen 1, the first gym is a rock type gym, which is interesting. They chose to do the same thing again. And this guy is the same guy from all of them. He provides advice. And we can avoid some of the trainers. In fact, we might be able to avoid all of them. We can. So this gym is basically the exact same as Gen 1's gym, which is curious. One of the things we also get here is we get pretty nice sprites for all of the gym leaders. I don't know if this is going to go well, because fire type is not particularly good against rock. But I do have Shroomish, which has Absorb. Unfortunately, that's no good. That's no good. All my other guys are going to get swept anyway. Just go for it. See how much we can do with Ember. Not a lot. If we can get a burn, that would be good. But this is going to do a lot. Yeah. We might just get waxed here. Yeah, probably. I mean, I could have been smarter about this, but probably should have chosen Trico, actually. Yeah, 14, level 4, critical, yeah. And this guy's like level 2, which is really funny. But we'll get to see what happens when we lose. Yep, okay. We also get the first, like, I don't think the other games do this, where you white out. They just kind of go, you lost, and then you go back to the Pokemon Gen, or the Poke Center. This one's first one where it's, like, explicitly implied that you lose consciousness. Oh, he's gonna tell you. Can we win here? What's the move? What's the move? Most of my Pokemon are pretty bad. Most of my Pokemon are pretty bad, but she only has 2. And I'm gonna take a guess and say that she probably sent out the higher level one first. Yeah, Rock Throw is just too good against my guys. Mostly Torchic. Now Tackle, that's perfectly reasonable. But we can double up the potions and whatever. Ah, good, he missed. This gives us an opportunity to do basically nothing. Which kind of sucks. We only have 3 potions left, so I think I'm just gonna, like, smack him a little more. Yep, okay. Now, Shroomish did last one time. She can use a potion? That's... I don't like that. That's kind of lame. It's actually really lame. Now, Absorb is super effective. So if I get Shroomish any sort of leveled up, we're winning this one. But at this point, he's level 7, which sucks. She gets to use more than one potion? What is this? This is the first gym. Oh, right. That is one of the things that's not great about this version. The gym leaders are way too item happy compared to other versions. Because like other versions, the top gym leaders, usually in the later game, will use like one. They'll use like one hyper potion, one potion or whatever, one full restore at the end. And when they've got like one Pokemon left. But Gen 3 guys will use like 3 or 4 potions. Stun Spore, no. 3 or 4 potions when they've got like 2 guys left. And they're just gonna spam the potions for a little bit. Oh, that's awful. I'm gonna stun spore him. Just so we can get like paralysis on him. I mean, paralysis is just free at this point. So we'll slowly drain him out. Ugh, Rock Tomb. Now the good thing here is now Absorb will start gaining his health, so we're, you know, it's concerning. That sucks. That really does suck. Because my other guys suck. That's not really doing anything. I would slow... Well, String Shot's really bad. I mean, he's just gonna insta-kill most of these guys, I think. Growl. Growl lowers attack, defense, attack. Ugh, a critical. I didn't need that. If we lose this one, I think I'll, well, we can make him asleep. Here, we'll just scratch. We'll see how long it's gonna take pretty long. Yeah, I should have slept him.
Ooh, we didn't lose. Oh, right, I forgot. Slackoff can do that. It can loaf around. And that means you don't do anything. Because... yeah. You don't get to do anything. We can also look at some of these abilities. Truant moves only every 2 turns, yeah. Prevents added effects, may pick up items, leave sport on contact, yeah. Okay. Let's do some of the other smaller battles here that are the mid battles before, and we're going to use Shroomish, and Shroomish is going to gain some points. Let's fight this guy. I want to beat this gym before I end the stream, but I think that'll call it for the stream. Okay, this is reasonable. Level 10, I'm level 9. Yep, I should have no problem with these guys. Even though he gets a critical and gets half my health? What is that? That's bad. That's annoying. Nice. We want to get up to like level 14 probably. Oh, Leech Seed's good. This one has a lot more stuff to do when compared to the other two, I think. I mean, all the Pokemon games have a lot of stuff to do that you don't have to. A lot of extra battles, a lot of things that you can just ignore that you don't have to do. This game, I think, has a lot of that earlier. And it takes you a really long time to get Fly. So that means there's a lot of places on the map that you just don't get to access until almost after the mid game. Like, you don't really get to go back until you're probably 2/3 of the way through the game. It's probably the 2/3 mark exactly. And even then, there's still a lot of the map that is kind of untouched by you, which is pretty interesting. I think this game is kind of bigger than Gen 2's map. I'd have to double check exactly, but I think it kind of is just bigger. Okay, so we're gonna go into that with a guy who is level 12, probably. I don't think he's gonna get... yeah, level 12. Alright, let's go back, heal up our guys, and then take it on. Now, in terms of... I've said how this is the only main non-remake game on the Game Boy Advance. If you compare it with remake games, I think what it is that... I mean, obviously the first remakes were on the Game Boy Advance, so Game Boy doesn't have any extra remakes. Game Boy Advance has 2 including remakes. DS has 3 games including remakes. 3DS has 3 games including remakes, and Switch has 1, 2, 3, 4 games including remakes, which means that, I mean, it's still low. Like, most of the games only had 1 game. Most of the consoles only had 1 game that was remade on that console, right? DS had Gen 2, Game Boy Advance had Gen 1, 3DS had Gen 3, and then Switch has had Gen 4 and a remake of Gen 1, which is interesting. We're starting with Absorb. I should have started with Leech Seed. Oh, well,
I mean, if it's gonna be like that, I'm just gonna get him out of the way. She's probably gonna give me Rock Tomb as a TM. Oh, she's gonna use a potion. Maybe I should, whatever. I'm stealing her potion health, basically, so. She's probably gonna use another potion. Yeah. Like, when they're hard-coded to just use 2 potions as soon as possible, it's not great. Like, it's kind of lame. The good thing here is that with Absorb, I get it, right? Like, I get that health. I don't really lose it out. So Shroomish is going to go up to level 13 here. Oh. And I still have the rest of my guys to maybe get Nose Pass. Good, he used Harden first. That's good. That's good. Because we're going to use Leech Seed. Which drains a little bit of health off the top every turn. Ugh, Rock Throw. Don't kill me. Okay, good. He goes faster than me, which is interesting. And I still don't get... I'm still not getting a lot of health off from Absorb, which is really interesting. He must have really high special defense. I'm gonna Stun Spore him. Just so he's not, like, beating me every round. And maybe he'll get a Paralyze. It didn't happen last time at all. He never got stopped by paralysis, which sucks. But here we should go first now, and that'll mean that we're unlikely to die to his Rock Throw. I don't think we're gonna. Yeah, no, we're not going to. But it does mean that next turn, I think we're out. But he's so low, I think. Oh, there we go. You'll love to see it. You'll love to see it. The badges also get names. They kind of always had that, but it's a little bit more obvious in this one because of the trainer card. And you get the TMs. Yep. If we go to the trainer card, we can see that we now... they were kind of always that obvious, but I don't know. It's really Gen 4 that really did the badges as something really interesting. Yep. Oh, we don't get any. Oh, now we do get. Yep, it's Team Magma. Yep, we gotta chase him to get the goods. It's getting to the end of the stream. I don't think I'm gonna do that. But the story is pretty interesting. This is probably the first one that has an actual, like, story for the legendaries, because Gens 1 and 2 kind of just have, like, a backstory thing going on, where it's like, oh, you go to the end and you find out that Mewtwo was made. Oh, you get to the end, you find out that the tower burned down. Oh. This one's the first one that kind of has like a long ago, and then stuff actually happens where Team Aqua and Team Magma fight, and one of them wants to get more land and the other one wants to get more sea. Is he just like right over here? Okay, yeah, no. It's gonna take a little bit to do that, so we're not gonna do that, and we're gonna end the stream here. This is definitely an interesting installment in the series. A lot less impactful than Gen 2, I would say. But I mean, moving it to the Game Boy Advanced and making it look this good is no small feat. So this is still a pretty good, like, this is still a good entry. You know, if this is sort of the, oh, didn't change too much, this is kind of like the, oh, it didn't change too much, but it's still really like a good game. Kind of the Sonic 2, right? Well, I haven't really played Sonic games, so maybe that's a bad comparison. But like the first game was really good. This just improved upon it. You know, not in any sort of like, oh, it changed a bunch of stuff. More in a sort of like, oh, it just made it better. So, yep. Next week we'll do Fire Red and Leaf Green, which are the first remakes, which are pretty interesting. So it will be interesting to talk about those because they use all of the stuff that Gen 3 introduced, which means they play actually pretty differently from the first couple of games, the first generation. But